The bishop and the queen can work together in some interesting patterns. Let's take a look at a few of them here. To start off, we'll look at put the queen in the B1 square, and the queen can be behind the bishop, and they can attack these squares right here, and this square as well. Now, we can also put the queen in the D1 square in this example, and they can attack these two squares here, plus this additional square right there. Now, the queen and the bishop can also be used in a so-called triangle attack, where there's some sort of triangle set up between the queen and the bishop, because obviously the bishop can only move in diagonal. So let's say, for example, we stick the queen in F or E2. Okay, well, we can also not only use it in the triangle attack, we can attack with a bishop, or we can attack as a battering ram. So, okay, in this example right here, the queen and the bishop are threatening the E4 square, and the queen can actually make that threat not just from the E2 square, but any one of these purple squares I've highlighted here. The same holds true for attacking the F5 square. The queen can make that threat from any one of these squares. And if we go stick the queen on G2, which threatens the G6 square, the queen can actually make a threat from being on any one of those other squares right there. And the same holds true for H2. Queen could threaten H7. And the queen doesn't have to be in H2. It can be on any one of these squares as well. So there's some interesting combinations here. Now, another way we can work with the queen and bishop is to simply stick the queen in front of the bishop as a battering ram. Okay, let's say, for example, I have a bishop right here, and we decide to stick the queen at the D3 square. And in that case, the queen can be used as a battering ram for those squares right there. Now let's take a look at an example of where these two pieces could be really effective. Now, we all know the king can move in 8 different squares. That is when the king is in its so-called center. But when the king is outside of its so-called center, on the corners or in the back of the board, the king's range is limited to 5, perhaps 3 squares, and sometimes even less when it has its own pieces in the way, which limits its moves. Which leads us to the point where the bishop and the queen can be pretty effective against that. Let's take a look at this example we have right in front of us here. Now, I've set up Black's setup here, and this could be a situation within some point of a game. And well, Black looks fairly safe. They've castled, but let's take a look at some ways White could make some serious threats. Now, I'm not going to draw all of White's pieces. I'm just going to show how these two particular pieces to work together to illustrate the example. What we're worried about here, or what Black should be worried about in this situation, are these two particular pieces right here, the G7 and the H7 squares, and because they can be overloaded if White combines the bishop and the queen. Okay, let's set up an example here. I have the bishop on the C2 square, and we put the queen on D3. Now, if it's White's turn to move, White can simply checkmate and win the game here by moving to the H7 square, and there's nothing Black can do. Now, White can also set up a checkmate from any one of these following squares in this board with the queen and bishop. There's this H5 square, there's the E4 square, there's the H2 and H1. So White's queen could be in any one of those squares and threaten a checkmate on H7, or actually do checkmate on H7 in one move if it's their turn. Now, the same holds true for the light squares as well, but that would be in regards to the G7 square there. White's queen could go from any one of these 5 different locations we've shown here. And that's a basic overview of how the queen and the bishop can work together. Definitely some stuff to try to pay attention to and toward the middle in the end game. And that essentially wraps up our tutorial. Thank you for watching.